peace is not the absence of pain. It's not the absence of troubles. It's not the absence of trepidation or fear. But it's to be in the midst of all those things and still be calm in your heart.
This podcast is proudly supported by the Ōtara Network Action Committee, ōNAC, community-owned, community-driven and community-led.
Kia ora once again. Welcome back to the We Are Ōtara podcast. My name, of course, is Vincent Tyrone Vitalino. I want you to remember my name because you're part of my family. Now, no, I did pay my tickets. I swear I paid all my fines. But we had an amazing guest. He is the district commander for Manukau East, Inspector Scott Gemmell. Amazing character. He was explaining to us about his story, about how he became police by basically not tolerating bullying. He got to the point where he's like, you know what, I'm going to rock up to the police station in college. Make me a police officer. And Commander went, nah, come back with a bit more experience, mate. But he came back with experience, and look where he is now. I hope you're watching, Chief. He's becoming a top cop. Now, becoming top people, here's our awesome sponsors. ōNAC, Ōtara Network Action Committee. ōNAC, community-owned, community-driven, community-led. I'm a Highlanders fan, so I'm a Dunedin boy. Even though I've never been born and bred in Dunedin, I've always been a Dunedin boy. So when I saw that scoreline, I was like, I had to do the little secret ones. Go, yes.
Well, my brother-in-law has corrupted our second youngest son to be a Crusaders fan.
Oh,
so in our 9 we had 7 Blues and a couple of red down the end there. Sort of out by almost sitting on the aisle. But they're proud.
So I got a question. When you saw the score and there was about 10 minutes left, did you all 7 you get up simultaneously and lift the 2?
No, because the aisle 2 wouldn't allow the rest of us to get up and leave. And they wanted to stay and watch the breakdancing too. You know? So, no, we did leave, but we're still on talking terms. We're all good.
Okay, so there wasn't the talk of there's no dinner for you tonight. No dinner.
I did say that Crusaders fan would be, that flag would look quite good as my doormat. But no, it wasn't going to make it there.
Oh, that's fine.
So no, that's us.
That's fine. So we had a brief talk down there about rugby. How was it like you playing rugby? Did you ever play rugby when you were little?
Yeah. Oh, I did, but not little. I probably started when I was third form, which probably more year 9. Yeah. Year 9 now. And I really enjoyed it. It was good. And I played through to all of my secondary schooling and then went to club. And I think I finished about 2021. When I was 21, under 21, something like that. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I got a few injuries but that didn't help things. But that's all right.
I was going to say, you finished at 2021. Man, you look really good for
2021. Yeah. my age, 21, but thank you.
Oh, you look good, though. You look good. So I wanted to link up with that, with whole sports and stuff. When you were growing up, how influential was sports to you? Was it, was that how you made friends, or, was that a group thing?
I think sport is good. Like, I didn't play really much sport until I hit secondary school, but for me growing up, I grew up in Onehunga, and I suppose I was more into the school side of things at that particular time. I did dabble in some sports, but I wasn't a very confident young person. Okay. And I tried different things, and mum and dad were awesome and encouraged me to try different things, but I was quite shy as well. And it wasn't until I really got to secondary school that I gave a couple of things a go, and then I really enjoyed it. However, coming now to where our young ones are, and we're really fortunate to have 5, sport was a big thing in my wife's family as well. So all of a sudden they've started branching out to the point where if it wasn't for us having our grandparents live with us as well, our children wouldn't be able to attend or do probably half the things, probably more, that they are involved in. They're pretty lucky. So sport is a great way. So is cultural, kapahaka. So is anything that they're doing with other people. It does build their social network, and it's pretty cool. They're pretty fortunate, really. Yeah.
So how would you compare that with your upbringing? You say you were very shy.
Yeah.
How would you compare that to your kids now in terms of the level of growing up and just the environment overall?
It is different now. I think our kids are a lot more connected, social media connected. They're aware of their social environment probably a little bit more than I was, and we live rurally now, so even getting to school when I was growing up, we walked most places until I hit secondary school, and then it was on the bus. It is slightly different, but both of them are fine. Both of them are good. We've I think there's benefits in both ways, but it is definitely different. And I'd say in 20 years' time, when they're doing one of the next version of this, in 25 years, they'll say a similar thing. I think they're fortunate with what they have, but I also had a very fortunate upbringing too. It's just different.
Yeah. With that said, what got you into placing yourself into this path of policing? It must have been a very, you had in your mindset, I wanted to do this. So what pushed you forward to doing it?
That's a good question. I remember the time when I thought policing might be something for me, and it was in my 5th form or year 11 at school. And I really think it was around bullying and how I didn't like bullying. When I was 3rd form, I was the eldest in my generation, cousins, and bullying, I think, can have such an impact on a young person through school or through life. Absolutely. And it was something that I always felt quite strongly about. And in 5th form, some close friends of mine went through some tough times too, family things that were tough at the time. And I thought, it's probably my way of, and who I am, of giving something back or being able to serve when people are not at their best or not in a great space. There's something that you can do. In fact, if you are in that situation and you don't do something, I feel that it's almost that it's your obligation. You should be doing something to make life a little bit easier on other people.
Absolutely.
So in 5th form is where I decided, and I actually, I've got a little bit of an embarrassing story. As soon as I left school, in fact, it might have been my last year of school, I went to the Auckland police station and said that I was ready to join the police. And I was all of about 17 or 16 at the time. And the senior sergeant at the time, whom I now know what a senior sergeant is, by the way, he came down and said, "You're too young, go away, get some life experience, either get a trade behind you or get some study behind you, go and experience life, and then come back." And I'd rocked in on my own. I think I was still in school uniform. And I just said, this is where I'd like to go. That was probably the best advice.
Yeah.
It was good advice because reflecting back, and I ended up doing a piece of study and joining in my mid-20s was actually the best thing I that's the best advice I got, because as soon as you go out onto our street and you get your firsts, and I speak about this, the first time, it may not be the first time you've experienced in your life, but it's the first time you've experienced it in a blue uniform, is a vehicle crash or a family harm incident or a sudden death, or a burglary, someone that's had their items stolen from a shop or their car stolen, and the impact on that is very hard for you to hold sometimes as well. So you want that experience to be able to talk to people and reassure people, and if you have a little bit of experience behind you, you've worked or you've learnt to speak to people, you're going to be in a better place for it. So it was good advice. Good advice. I can't remember the face of the senior sergeant, but if I ever did find him again, I'd thank him.
Yeah, no, definitely. And most of our younger ones who are coming up from just growing up is based on learning experiences. And I think over the past 3 years we're learning how to experience certain different things. 2020 was a good example of learning how to live without certain things. Do you reckon as a teenager living in these times, would you be able to survive something like a lockdown?
If it was back when you were growing up,
So if you were growing up like that,
I think about a question like that, and I think our young people are very resilient. If it was to happen when I was a teenager, I think, yes, I'd get through it, because the options there are that you will get through it. And as a young person, you are quite a resilient person. You, for want of a better term, you roll with it. You roll with this, so you don't have that, but we'll figure out a way to do this. And sometimes I think we as adults can learn from how resilient young people are, and they will just roll on to the next thing and figure out solutions in a way that when you get older, you start to compartmentalize, and sometimes you can narrow your focus and you think, well, this is the next stage in a process that I'm really accustomed to and I'm really accultured to. It's not going to work here, and how am I going to get over that? Young people just think like that, and they're going to go, well, it may not go that way, but I'll go this way, and then I'll go over here, and then I might bounce over this way. And I see it. Our teenagers are like that. So they couldn't learn by going to school, for instance. Yet I didn't see, and I ask teachers and I ask principals that are associated with our young ones, have they found a reduction in academic attainment from young ones going through NCA level? And surprisingly, because I thought it would be massive, surprisingly it's little. There's lots of young people that got on with their work and did it. And when I look at them and I see them graduating at the end of the year, and I see their families coming and supporting them, that's pretty cool. They've done something that I didn't do when I was young. They've achieved something that we should be applauding them for. They've done some pretty cool things, and they've done it in ways that were really thinking outside the square. And coupled with that is just the amazing work teachers do to encourage that thinking and to allow them to excel even if they're at home. The challenges that you get at home is really around Wi-Fi. People don't have data. Everyone's got a phone these days, but they don't have Wi-Fi, especially if you've got multiple children in a home and you're all trying to log on to Zooms at the same time.
Yeah.
You crash your system, or you just don't have enough devices.
Yep.
So going back to hard copy workbooks was actually a cool thing to do, and it was kind of what we did. Ours was all hard copy, pen and paper, and away you go. For many, going back, including our own family, the younger ones did very, very well by just having a workbook to work to. Have the social interaction online, and then have their workbook to
have them work in front of them.
Yeah. So Yeah, I applaud our young ones today. I reckon they're pretty awesome.
So we applaud those who are successful with it, and that's a good thing. And and on the flip side, we do have those who are struggling.
Yep.
What sort of advice, or more like what would you give as a piece of advice to those who are struggling out there? Because I know that I have friends who are struggling with teenagers who are currently new parents now, and the teenagers are getting to that point where they're at this crossroad. And this crossroad, they don't know if they want to go follow mum and dad's path where they just go straight to work, or they want to go to study, but they don't have the financial means or the technology that they need.
Mm-hmm.
So what sort of advice or something that you want to give to them to sort of help them out make a decision? Because I know it's quite hard, especially these times.
Decisions on life, on what they want to do. Sometimes, that's the hardest question, whether you have means to achieve it or not. Even those that do have a means to achieve something don't know what they want to do either. So that is a universal decision, and even our young ones are going through that right now. In terms of there's a few barriers you've just raised there. Yeah. Financial being one of them, and probably the predominant one. When you decide, and everyone's decision is their own, like following parents' advice or following what the parents have done, or branching out and doing something that parents didn't do, can be quite daunting and does require you to be quite courageous in what you want to do. But if you have a desire to be something, if you have a willingness that you want to give something a go, and I look at the question, if our young one, our 17-year-old came and said, I want to do something that Mum and I, Grace, my wife Grace and I didn't do, cool. That's really cool from my perspective. How they get there is the next stage. I know most schools have career advisors, to help you with scholarships, is to try and get over that first barrier. To go into study, to go into trades, it's a difficult question to ask, because I think you have to look inside yourself and find out what it is that really drives you. Those ones that are still thinking like that, still thinking like, what shall I do here? I'm actually okay with, because they're already future focused. They're already thinking of their future. The ones that cause me more concern are the ones that are living for each day, and they're not quite sure where they want to go. Yeah. And if I was a parent of one of those, that would become the bigger dilemma for me. Anyone that's future focused, I'm okay with. They'll find a path. Yeah. They'll find something. The ones that are stuck in the now, and there's a few of those too, as a parent or as a caregiver or as a nan or a kōrero, grandparents, uncles and aunties, I think the first thing, rather than looking at a trade or looking at study, is to get them to think beyond tomorrow, or think beyond today, think beyond, sometimes beyond themselves, because it can become quite insular. COVID has been quite damaging socially. Yes. Emotionally, people are still trying to find themselves, let alone trying to connect with others. And when we have had a period of sustained in your home and almost sometimes too frightened to go outside, reopening that has meant that our behaviour hasn't been what it used to be, hasn't had the respect that's probably been afforded before. So finding yourself, finding your friends, having really good values is something else that I would say around, what's right and what's wrong. what's really important to you in terms of value? Is it being thankful for what's been given to me to get to this point? I think if we can be grateful for the culture that I've got, thankful for that I live in a family that can sing or can celebrate and can play rugby or play league or hockey or netball, whatever that looks like. If we can get young ones that are thinking beyond the now into tomorrow, from tomorrow into the week, into the month, to get them into a focus where they have value, they've got value in their life, and harness that would be where I would be focusing on. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's often that we tend to forget what's out there because we're so focused and blinded for what's in front of us. Lockdown is you mentioned lockdown is a good example of what we had in front of us was blocked because so much things was just going on. It piles onto you. And I know that a lot of our listeners and a lot of who are watching this at the moment will take the advice that you just given out as a piece of hope, because I took that and as a piece of hope, because I also felt like in 2020 it was something that I couldn't get out of. I had like 3 or 4 nephews and nieces who were sort of straying a little bit, and they came back to light because their parents were like, look, you need to do what you need to do. Do it in a way that you can contribute to yourself and make it better. So it was a good piece of advice.
Thank you.
As a police officer, what is it that you see here, especially in your district around East Manukau? What is it that you want to envision in the future for our district, especially here in East Manukau?
Having just spoken about what we've spoken around, I would, which is aligned with it really. It's prosperity, and for people to be the best that they can be.
Yeah,
hope is a good thing, and challenge yourself. This is a challenge for me. I've never done this, so it's and always have a mindset where you're going to learn something.
Yeah.
And if you go into something and you make a mistake, it's all right. You've learned something, and hopefully you come across people in your life that will allow you to make a mistake and will allow you to be the best version that you can be, because everyone deserves that. Everyone should have that.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to see for Ōtara Mainuku, Ōtara, would be that prosperity, be the best that you can be courageous, and have hope. Go for it.
Absolutely. And once more, I always like to leave off with the guests leaving with an amazing quote that they carry with, like the piece of advice to those if you're talking to and you're listening to. So what piece of advice you would give in terms of hope and for them to see in the near future?
Okay. I have a few that I hold on to, just depending on what the circumstances are or what the situation is. I'll go with 2, if I may.
Absolutely.
One of them is around what is peacefulness, or what is peace? And peace is not the absence of pain. It's not the absence of troubles. It's not the absence of trepidation or fear, but it's to be in the midst of all those things and still be calm in your heart in order to make the best decisions you can. And that's true peace. Now, the one I want to finish on is ina te mahi he rangatira. And that means through your deeds, you'll be known as a chief. So be the best that you can be, and reach for those stars. Kia ora.
Thank you so much.